Hello, hello, and happy Wednesday. It's hump day, people. What are you doing? Today on the show of the Art of Inspired Selling, I have guest Tara Adems. Now, I'm sorry, you guys, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, which is just what happens when you do a live show. And you know what? You just go with it, you fix it, you move forward, and you strap on that smile and you make everything happen. So today I'm bringing Tara on. I'm going to read her bio as I always do so that we get everything right. And then she is going to talk to us today about content marketing. So, the Art of Inspired Selling is all about bringing successful entrepreneurs on the show to deliver valuable content to our B2B entrepreneurs, because we are not here to just survive in the now normal. We're here to survive, to actually thrive. Okay. So let's talk about Tara. So having lived in the Valley of the Sun for 20 years, and I think that's about, I don't know, combined how long I've lived there, Georgia native, Tara Adems has learned to love 120-degree heat and agrees it's a dry heat. Turning off the phone here. Tara has worked in digital marketing for over 15 years. She's worked with multiple marketing agencies and many of her own clients through her agency. These days, Tara focuses on the area of marketing that she finds fun and rewarding. I love content marketing as well. On her days off, you can find her in Sedona, which is absolutely beautiful. If you guys haven't had a chance to visit Arizona and go up to Oak Creek Canyon, it's absolutely beautiful. She loves the serene atmosphere, or in San Diego, where I'm playing on the beach with her family. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my guest, Tara, on the show to give us some information and deliver lots and lots of value. Uh-oh, she says she can't hear me. You can hear me. Okay. Now, today, there must be like the moon and the stars and Venus and Neptune, and I don't know where our astrologers are out there, but somebody tell us, is there like a retrograde happening? That's okay. Laura hears me. All right, we're live. We're getting some interaction here. Tara, we made it. We're only 15 minutes behind, but you know what? Man, good stuff is worth the wait. I'll tell you.
I appreciate that. I think you're right. And thank you so much for having me on today. It truly was worth the struggle that we went through, and what a struggle it was. But I hope everyone can hear me, and I hope that the technology holds out through this, because I've been really excited about this. I love talking about content marketing, and I am excited to talk to you and your audience today.
Yeah, this is great. Content marketing. So before we get started, because what I can take us off track. I'm really good at those squirrels when they run across my desk. No, so tell me, Tara, as everybody I ask when they come on the show, everybody has something that truly inspires them, right? How long have you been in business for yourself?
So the actual business has been close to about 11 years, 11, 12 years
Okay.
In marketing. I say digital marketing for 15 years. I've been in marketing and non-digital for much longer than that, close to 20.
Okay.
I'm probably aging myself there, but yeah. So
an 11-year veteran of your own business, as we know the statistics on failed businesses, right? In year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've made it to 11. And there's something that you've done all these years that helps inspire you to like hit the snooze or just get out of bed, ready to conquer the world. Tell me about what helps inspire you to get up every day and do what you do. Is it a quote? Is it a book? Is it your life? Is it your plan? What is it that inspires you?
That's a great question, and I appreciate that you ask everyone on here about that. And I think you're right. As an entrepreneur, you really need to be inspired to keep
dig deep, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's tough days, and you're it, right? There's nobody else to lean on sometimes. So for me, I think it's been the joy that I get from the work I do. And I've really worked with amazing people, mm-hmm. and I've worked with amazing clients. And part of the reason why I've really kind of niched down, if you will, into content marketing is because it's fun for me. When you get the right client that is a fit for this and has goals, and you can help them reach it. Part of it is I like to write. Part of it is I like to tell the story of people that this is a great product or service. Like, I want everyone to know this for you. So let's just use all of our tools to do it. So I think that's what inspires me, is knowing what I can do for others. And that really drives me.
And that's, along the lines of my whole show, right? Is that some of us are, I don't know if I want to use the word servant leadership, but some of us just want to give, and we thrive off the success and the outcome of what we provide to other people. And I've seen that a lot in a lot of my guests. It tends to be a recurring theme. But now let's get to the meat of what we're here to talk about, and that is content marketing. So do you want to define that a little bit for the viewers? I know everybody might not agree with it. People are impatient with it. It takes time. It's like that SEO thing where they think they're just throwing money down this unending drain and they're never going to see results from it. Let's talk about content marketing, and I'm going to share some slides with you guys. But before I do that, let's just talk about a little bit about the definition of that.
So you're right. Content marketing, if you asked 20 different marketers or 20 different people who was even using this strategy of marketing, you'd get probably 10 to 20 different answers, depending on who you asked and when. Content marketing is really, some people call it copywriting. The difference being that copywriting is meant to sell. And content writing is too, but it is nuanced. Okay. So, for instance, copywriting would be an ad that says, have you been having pain all day? Now, thanks to widget cream, the pain goes away. Like, that's more copywriting. It's a direct, I'm trying to sell you something. Mm-hmm. Content writing and content marketing is more like just educating someone and letting them know more about whatever your product or service is, really educating them, answering questions they have around a subject, and then displaying that you're this expert, that you know this, that you understand their pain, what their pain is, and then you just I just happen to know this really nice thing that can really help with all of that, That's kind of how content marketing is. It's not a hard sell. Okay. And you're right, it's not for someone looking to, turn around a profit or get great web traffic within a month. This is definitely a long strategy. Generally between 6 months to a year is when you would see real results. But that's all, everything I'm telling you, it's kind of like if a doctor or a lawyer said, but contact your own content marketer, because everything depends on your circumstance, your website, what you've done, what you're willing to do, what your goals are. It all depends. So today we're going to talk kind of generally about content marketing and what it can do.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here, and I have the first slide up. Let's see if I can make this larger. All right, I think everybody can see that.
Yes, so we talked about a little bit about what it is, and so, what can it do for you? Well, so what I want to say is I think most anyone can use content marketing as part of their strategy. I think it can be, I've always subscribed to a dynamic or a variety of approaches in your marketing strategy. You don't want to just put all your eggs in one basket. Just too many times over the years, a Google update will just trash your website, or trends change. So
algorithms, right? Algorithms change on any social platform you're using. So yeah, it can all happen.
Exactly. Yeah, I could give you tons of examples. And, I've been really blessed to work with really great either agencies or other marketers who really taught me the value in that, because honestly, it's real easy to pivot if you have some other strategies in place. But if you're just doing one, you're going to be poached for a while. So we don't want that. So I think that it's a part of everyone's strategy. Even the only one I would say it isn't is if for some reason you're doing marketing but you don't have a website, Or I would even say if you have a website, but your domain is shared, meaning maybe you have mywebsite.weebly.com. If it's a subdomain, if it's shared, you generally, if you do like a Weebly, a Wix, sometimes even a Squarespace, if you don't have your own domain, content marketing isn't really going to work for your website. It's going to work really well for the domain that owns it, so Wix or Weebly, but it's not going to work so much for you. It's not saying that you still wouldn't attract attention, you wouldn't get branding, but my focus, part of my special sauce, if you will, in getting results for people has always been getting the SEO focus and making the content really do its job. Like every piece of content is working hard.
Yeah, that's good to remember.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think where they get frustrated, and you mentioned this earlier, is where they're spinning their wheels and they're doing a lot of work. They're writing those blogs and they're putting out the social post, but they just miss simple opportunities that make those content pieces really work and bring that traffic and bring that conversion and bring the profitability. So that's what I concentrate on, is kind of more or less hitting all the marks. So if we're doing a blog, if we're doing a newsletter, if we're doing social post, whatever we're doing, we're making sure that we hit all the opportunities every time. And that's how you can sometimes get results in 3 months. They won't be as good as they will be in 6 months. But if you really work hard at hitting all those opportunities. Now, again, I can really geek out on this. So I too, like you, I don't want to get unfocused. Or what I typically do is get so excited. I give so much information that people's eyes glaze over.
Yes. But, so let's look at this for a second, because I think, as you know, I have my own methodology for my social selling strategy, right? And so one of the acronyms in my S cubed methodology is about setting goals, and understanding, why are you even online? Why are you on a specific platform? B2B marketers should be 100% on LinkedIn, 100% on Twitter. If those are where you're going to meet and interact with your target market. But what you were just saying is making sure each piece of content works for you. How can you set those goals? Give us an example. Are you going to go through that in some of the other slides, or can we touch on that? What kind of goals should people set?
So that's a great question. I have a lot of people that don't want goals, or their goals are, there's improvement. And I have to tell you, over the years, I tried working with that kind of client, or that kind of goals, non-goals, and that just never works for 2 reasons. One, you never really know or focus your energy in what you're doing, which is never good, especially in content marketing, and generally in life, really. And then 2, is there's never a way to know if you've hit the mark. General improvement, what does that even mean? What would that look like? So for instance, I've had clients that was like, this month was a bad month. But if I really pressed them, I'm like, you didn't have as many customers come in, you didn't have as many sales, you didn't have as many, they didn't seem to do as much. So we're going on someone's perception,
right? Yes, right.
So
it doesn't lie, but you first have to identify what kind of data you're going to analyze.
Exactly. So I work with clients, if they don't already know, I work with them to establish, what would you like to happen? And I think in one of the slides I have, do you want more web traffic? Do you want more sales? Do you want a different kind of clientele, a different kind of customer? What would make you? And sometimes it's all of the things.
Right.
In which case, now we have to try to stay. Perhaps we have multiple strategies or multiple content that we're producing or creating to achieve these results.
Well, let's go on to the next slide so that I keep us focused here. I asked this question, what is content marketing? So go ahead and take that away.
Yeah, so it basically explains, it's just a type of content that's sharing education and knowledge and just information that's regarded towards your business or service, but isn't direct sales. But that it can include videos, blogs, newsletters, social posts, really any kind of digital content you can imagine.
That's great. Okay, so let's go on here. And if you guys hear dogs barking in my background, I'm sorry. I have people moving. I have kids in school. I have a roommate. I mean, we have a little circus going on in my loft office. So what can content marketing do for my business? And that's a big question, right? From the audience. And you guys don't hesitate to ask some questions here. You know, what can it do for somebody's business? What's the real reason for why I always say, you know, we're building business relationships. Business relationships mean profit. That means money in the bank. We're not here to just build connections and have vanity metrics. What's the real reason? What's the impact, the positive business impact that it's going to have for everybody's business?
I agree. I've actually had several clients in the past that were shocked that it could mean profitability. I think they thought it was more towards branding or just making sure that they kept in front of people's faces. And it can certainly do that for sure. But again, I think using the SEO focus that I do, and as well as being very purposeful and planning each piece of content, these are planned a month or more in advance. So we're using all the opportunities available to us. So with that in mind, the sky's the limit. I've had clients that had a very limited budget, a very high goal, multiple goals, and not a lot of time, less than 6 months, preferred 3 months
to make it happen.
I was able to really, with a 30 to 40% increase. Now, what I will tell you is that was a concerted effort, like every day, every single day was in some form creating, promoting, nurturing the process and analyzing. And that's something that we're going to talk about too in the slides is analyzing. So, how do you know? You've got to set the goals to know where you're going, but you have to analyze along the way. Are we going in the positive direction? Are we not? Are we looking like we're going to hit that goal? And are we hitting it fast enough? What are we missing? So
let me, what's needed for great content marketing, but you said something that I'd like to demystify, if I can use that word for everybody. So what would be a budget? Like if somebody said, I'm interested in this content marketing, I don't even know what kind of a budget to set aside for a simple budget. Like what would be an entry-level budget for somebody if they didn't have a lot of money? They want that scenario that you just painted for everybody. What kind of budget would be an entry-level budget for my B2B solopreneurs?
So that's a great question, and I get that a lot. And again, it kind of goes back to it all depends. There's a lot, and almost any business, it depends on how ambitious is your goal, what is your timeline, and what are you willing to do is part of it, is a big part of it.
Okay.
So let's just say, I've had local mom and pop clients that had really hardly any budget, just a couple of $100, $500 or so. Now, I'm not saying they did much with that, and it may involve like me consulting them, me coaching them, me working with them for certain months to get to a point where they could take it on, or they knew that they could get someone that doesn't have my level of expertise to do most of it. I've set the sort of the pattern, the strategy. I can guide them. They know what they're looking for and what they want, and they can tell this to someone else. And then they can just bring me back on as like a checkup or, hey, suddenly the sales have dropped. What do you think? That type of thing. So there's a way to work with a content marketer at any budget. It's just, it may fall on you to do more of it. But there are a lot of content creators and content marketers out there That would
So,
be
so
really
we're going to say that to have a content strategist, to have somebody assisting, a minimum buy-in for that would be $500 to $600. In some way, shape, or form, that would be a minimum.
I would say, I can say that for me. I can't
Okay.
say that for everyone.
Okay.
Other people, I can just hear now, I'm going to have people come to me and like, why are you putting so slick? My minimum's 2,000. I wouldn't even consider
Well,
working with
it
anyone for less than
depends, right?
2,000.
It depends on the level. I have
Right.
assistants with my content marketing. I need, we can't do everything. We can't be all. I just had a post
Right.
on this. You can't be all things to all people. And so you need to find your zone of genius. And content seems to be the island of pain for a lot of people. So if you were gonna, I always say you wanna hire of course you want to hire your LinkedIn specialist, but you also want to hire a social media specialist, and you need to hire your content specialist, because you're not throwing spaghetti against a wall. There's a strategy and a rhyme and a reason to everything. So let's go to your next slide for what's needed for great content marketing.
Okay, so this one, I want to give credit where credit's due. I kind of stole the 4Cs, if you will, from Nikki Milton. She's with Marvel Marketing in Colorado, and she is a branding expert specialist. I really like her and her branding kind of take and what she does with it. So the 4Cs, it starts with commitment, and that is up at the top, because honestly, if you don't commit, then the rest is not going to happen. This is a commitment. So many people start off with great intentions, or they start and then they peter out, or they're like, well, I didn't see anything the first month, and it just doesn't work that way. And just for the mere fact that Google doesn't cache that quickly. You've got to put content out there, you've got to promote it, you've got to get the traffic, and then Google has to recognize it and kind of give you that credit, and it just doesn't happen that quickly. So realizing the commitment and the reality of it is the first step.
Okay.
Credibility, when we talk about credibility, this is talking about, you talked about this earlier in one of your previous interviews, and I think this is so important. Again, it's sort of next to commitment, it's the next biggest thing. If you don't know who you are, what you stand for, what's important to you, what you're trying to convey about yourself, your business, the way you do business, what your product or service does for people, why it's different. If you don't know that, then you have to know that for this to work.
Right? You have to, that goes back, because we're talking about my solopreneurs here, we're talking more about personal branding, and your personal brand carries so much into your business brand, right? So what do you stand for? What do you stand against? What's your opinion on something? Are you going to rant? Are you going to do a rant on something? You can't just be wishy-washy and blow in the wind. You've got to come out of the gates with an opinion of what you stand for. So I love that you're bringing that in, because it is what we both preach. It all kind of plays in together with marketing and
definitely
personal branding we're talking about.
I do feel like I should just say, as sort of a caveat here, is someone that plays kind of a PR aspect as the content marketer, and with many clients that are like, I don't want people upset with me. I don't want people yelling at me. I don't want to start any debates. And I just have to say that you're in 2020, and you need to accept the reality of where we're at, because just existing, whoever you are, whatever gender you are, whatever you are, is up for debate these days, evidently. So,
absolutely. And and your network is your net worth, right? Your network is your network. And if you have naysayers, and it's when I first started, let's say, my content writing, and I started doing some blogging, and I started doing writing, just because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to put yourself out there when you're first starting.
Agree.
And then I had some gentleman just slam me, just completely slam me on LinkedIn. And I was like, dude, who the hell are you?
Right.
And it bruised my ego. It did. It bruised my ego. And then now, I have some people on LinkedIn that will, and let's say I was promoting the show, and I sent out a message out to everybody about the show. And this woman says, quit spamming me. I'm like, If that's spam, girlfriend, that's one less person in my network that I don't even want to deal with. Like, you're out of here.
Wow.
So it happens, you guys, if you don't have your first stalker, if you haven't been asked to marry somebody,
trolls, yeah, exactly.
If you haven't been bullied, cyber bullied, then you're just not there yet. You haven't tried hard enough.
It literally is a way to determine whether or not you are on the right path if you're doing it right. Because I've told clients before when they've said, okay, now you can do whatever you want to do, just don't get any negative comments, negative talk, negative anything. Like I said, so we're not going to do anything, right? Because, I mean, that just isn't realistic. We're not doing it right if we're not inviting that. Now, don't get me wrong, because people get really turned off and are like, well, she don't know what she's doing. There's a way to present information. I think you'll agree with me. There's a way to present information with integrity that says, this is my truth. This is where I stand. This is what I believe. And you say it with integrity. And you say it in such a way that you're not inviting, you're not saying other people are wrong or bad or any of that. It's just for whatever this purpose is that you're making this stand or the belief known. You know, when they come, the naysayers, as they will, that's on them. And I remember there was a really great quote where they said, you know, I'm going to mess it up now. I had it in my head and I can't remember it. Gosh, don't you hate when that happens? Anyway, it was a really great quote, essentially saying, you know, it's on them, it's not you. And I remember a really great client of mine that said, you know, being on camera is brutal. I hate it, but I'm doing it. And I'm so proud of the people that do that because it is hard. Oh, I know the quote. It was, nobody will ever criticize you if they're doing more than you. If it's, I'm saying it wrong, but I think the spirit of it is, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
If they were doing their own stuff, if they were in their lane and they're doing, you know, something productive, if they're out there helping, they're not worried about what you're doing.
They're going to lift you up, right? They're going to lift you up, not tear you down. So we have the credibility, which is authenticity. We've talked the personal branding, understanding who you are, consistency. So in content marketing, posting, blogging, whichever lane you're choosing, what kind of consistency are you talking about?
So it is blogging, posting on social, sending out a newsletter, and being consistent with it. And I have to tell you, this is an area that I suffer with as well. And I do have the caveat that consistency doesn't mean that you just throw something out there. And I think we're all guilty of that at some point because we're like, oh, it's Monday, I'm supposed to do a blog. And then I got to do the social. And yes, you do, but plan it so that you have content that is going to be engaging, and that goes into the connect. If you don't have something to say, if it's just a regurgitation, even if it's somebody else's post, but you can add something to that, then that's good. That's valuable and unique. But if you're just saying the same thing or reposting over and over, don't do that because it actually does harm in the long run. There's the algorithms kind of get on to the fact that you're not really adding to the conversation. You're just kind of regurgitating it. And they don't find as much value in that. And honestly, your audience doesn't either. So consistency is important, but not at the expense
of quality.
Right.
Quality and content that's on brand for you.
Correct.
Right. And I've seen this in some interesting marketing companies where just because I'm in LinkedIn, right? I'm in the LinkedIn lead gen company or business. And one time they're doing LinkedIn lead gen and another they're selling some sort of medical supply. And then another is some mastermind flyaway. And I'm like, where are you guys going with this?
Right.
Like, we're we're all over the place. So you have to be patient, right? You have to be patient and consistent and you also not be afraid to try different things, right? Especially when you don't have a huge following yet. Try different things that feel good and then they'll start to resonate with you. And it's easier to be consistent because you find joy and passion in those things that you're doing. Maybe videos your thing.
Yes.
Maybe memes are your thing. Maybe text in motion is your thing. Maybe, I mean, there's so many
That's
different
true.
ways.
I think you hit on something really important. I'd just like to kind of underscore, and again,
Yeah.
kind of going back to my friend Nikki Milton, who is crew. This is part of her talk, which is, and she says, people get permission from me that they don't need to say, you don't have to be on Facebook or whatever. You don't have to be on all the platforms. And they find great, solace in that. Basically, if you're not going to be consistent, if you don't like Facebook and you hate it with a passion, then take that out of the
Right.
mix.
Right.
Don't even think about it. But what do you like? What are you on? What can you do? Can you do video? Can you do blogging? Can you do whatever you can do? As she says, she can find someone who's killing it doing just one of any of these different ways of promotion.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say is content marketing includes all of that. And if you were really ambitious and wanted to meet really ambitious goals, you want to use all of it, but you don't have to. And going back to what you said earlier about cost and what do we have to do, you really don't have to do all of that. You don't have to pay people to do all of that necessarily. But again, every person and their goal and what they're up against, what their website and everything else is different. So,
okay, let's move on to what connect, or did you weave that in already?
I think that goes into quality content that is engaging, that is unique. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I'll add one thing to that. The cherry on top is you are doing content marketing for engagement.
Right.
Right. So if you're not getting any engagement from whatever platform you're on, more of that same content is not the right answer.
Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's go into this next slide.
So the next slide, and forgive me, I can't really see it, but it's two quotes that essentially, and I could pull 100.
And let me just say, I'm so sorry, you guys. I forget that this is going to be repositioned into a podcast, and I say the next slide, and you can't see what the heck it is we're talking about. So we have this beautiful yellow slide with red lettering, which will be in the show notes when it's actually produced. It says 7.8x higher, 61%. There's a microphone, so I can actually read it if you can't see it. It says year-over-year growth in unique site traffic is 7.8 times higher for content marketing leaders compared to followers. So it's 19.7% versus 2.5%. So why don't you break that down and tell me a little bit about what that means?
So what we're saying is, if you develop a relationship with your customers and potential customers through content, you're going to have a higher more traffic, more conversions, more profitability. That goes back to what we were saying earlier when you was like, what is in it for business owners? This is it. There's so many stats that we could showing that over and over again, content done well is going to increase everything: web traffic, conversions, your branding efforts, even ad dollars. When you go on Facebook or Google Ads, it can be lower thanks to your efforts with content marketing.
Okay. And then the next side, on the right-hand side, it says 61%. According to Dragon Search Marketing, that's a name, 61% of consumers are influenced by custom content.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty staggering number, 61%,
it is.
Right? So, I mean, just custom content that you write is that influential. I mean, if anybody's on the fence or is like, I just don't want to be that vulnerable, I kind of have to bring this out and say, okay, but 61%, that's a big number. So
yeah, and it is. So we know my platform is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn isn't so much of that touchy-feely platform, but I have seen people, right? Maybe that little violin post somebody did about the two Italian boys playing their violin that got huge numbers. And then when people tell a little bit of a personal story, big numbers as well. Whenever I share something, primarily I only share those personal moments on Facebook. But when I share something like that, the engagement in sharing that personal, inspiring story that was part of my backstory that got me to where I am today, the people connect with that. And those are some of the things that I need to get better at weaving into my LinkedIn posting, because I've kept it so corporate and I haven't wanted to share the trials and tribulations of what I've been going through. And that just, that takes time. Nothing is conquered overnight, right? You feel more as you feel more confident in your craft, and you have more stories of helping people and solving more pains, the stories will come. It will come. Trust me. They will come with time, and just stay consistent and do what you can do.
I agree.
Until then. Okay, let's go to the next one. Content marketing audit.
So this is just kind of a way to know, let's say you have a business and you think you've been doing content marketing, but you're just not getting the results. You can create your own audit. There's plenty of links online to be able to understand what that is and what would be the best. I mean, to break it down in its most simplest of terms, it's looking at what you've got and looking at the analytics to see what's working and what's not. Yeah. I mean, that's just its most simplest terms. Now, when we get into working with corporations or, big companies that have a huge silo of content, and perhaps they're looking to go a different way, the audits can go a lot of different ways, but essentially it's when I take over, I say, what have you been doing? If you've not been doing anything, then okay, here's our best guess, knowing your audience from you. You know your audience better than I do. Here's the strategy we're going to start with, and then we're going to carefully look at the analytics to see, are we hitting it right, or where's the point that we might be not quite hitting the right note, or not quite hitting the right pain points for your audience. If you do already have content, then we want to see, I'll give you a great example. I had a client that their email, they were just hemorrhaging people every week. They had a lot. They had I want to say 75,000 people in their email list.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's a ton, right? Well, I would love to have that. But
because everybody on my email list, I've personally spoken to. So
nice.
75,000.
75,000.
Yeah.
But they were hemorrhaging people every week. And one of the main comments, the main reasons that was identified, was they were getting too many emails. Well, they were getting one email a week. Now, if I only got one email from Sephora a week, I'd be calling them up. What happened? What's wrong?
Where's your deal? Am I missing a deal? Where's a code?
I'm supposed to get 3 of these a day that is customized to my personal taste. I need that. I look forward to my Sephora emails. So industry-wide, they really weren't getting too many. What they really meant was, I'm getting too many emails that I don't care about. I don't like these. There's nothing in this for me.
Message, market, mismatch.
Exactly. So through doing analyzation of what was working and kind of just taking some strategies and taking a risk, honestly, we were able to get them to where it was at least 3 emails a week that we were doing, and they were loving it, and they were not losing any. I mean, the percentage was reduced by 30% almost immediately within the first few weeks, and then into single digits from then on, which was appropriate for their industry for what they were doing, because they wouldn't keep people in their email list for longer than 4 or 5 years. But I mean, that's just the power of understanding your audience and what they're looking for, and giving them that content that, as you said, is unique to your brand, that you're an expert in, but that you can put your own unique branding on it.
Here's something that I find some people are against, and that is actually surveying their audience to find out what it is they want to hear about.
What? I need to. back that up a minute. What are we saying?
Yeah, right. People there, I get people that say, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what I should say. I'm like, don't ask me. Turn around
Oh,
and
so,
ask your target market. What is it that their
okay.
needs are?
I
What is
see.
it that they need to hear? What interests them? You can
Correct.
maybe see by your analytics, right? But your analytics, you might be guessing a little bit as well. Like, go do some surveys. Look at
Exactly.
where your people are hanging out. Look at Facebook groups. Look at LinkedIn groups. Look at Amazon to see what books they're reading. Find out what people are interested in. Quora. Ask the public. All those areas you can go to find out what your target market is interested in,
For
what they're
sure.
interacting about. Don't guess.
Right. I completely agree. And those are great tips, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think your own data gives you a lot, but to your point, I mean, sometimes when there's a gap in that information or you're having to guess, use other sources.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. And I totally agree. I mean, you're just as you and I both said, there's more to us than, LinkedIn for you or content marketing for me. So if someone talks about, going to Sedona or, information about other things that are parallel, if I were a dog, my ears would perk up. I don't know why I was going to say my ears would perk up.
Because you heard the dogs barking.
Maybe, maybe in a past life I had ears that could perk up, but there's always something to talk about, and in fact, that was one of the things we did. Is I'll give this out here for people as just a happy tip is recipes. If you can do a recipe. If you're in auto parts, you probably can't do recipes, okay? But if it's anywhere near organic in your product or service line, I've never seen. I mean, the websites, the interwebs are full of recipes. So you'd think at this point, there's really nothing you could possibly make that we couldn't just find already on the internet, and yet I'm sure there's something that you do differently or that you can provide. And that was part of what helped us was recipes. So for this particular client, it really worked out well in their niche. But
you mean like a real food recipe, or like the recipe it takes to get something done?
Well, I like that idea actually. So yes, it could be either of those. Kathryn, that's a great idea. But I was talking about food, and it was nutritional. Okay. So they could add nutrition to the recipe so that you knew, well, why am I making, zucchini, whatever? It's because zucchinis have a lot of nutritional value, and when they're in season, that would be a great thing to, it'd be cheaper to be in season. It will have a lot of these nutritional values. So anything like that. But I like the idea of a recipe to do things. So if your product helps you to wash dishes, you might could say, what was it? Somebody came out with a video recently, and I say recently, it was probably 2 years ago or so, with how to open a banana. And like all of us have been opening a banana completely wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was like, how did we get this far in evolution and we didn't know how to open a banana, right? There's never anything that you can't add. So we might all be washing dishes wrong, right? So whatever it is.
Break it down to the simple. Right?
Exactly.
Right. Break it down to the simple. Okay. So this slide is talking about setting goals and KPIs, which is you're preaching my language, right? So that's one of the reasons I wanted you to come on here, because we need to set those goals and the KPIs that are non-vanity related, unless you just want to have a vanity number. I have a vanity number, and that's 10,000 people on LinkedIn. So everybody's like me. Send me a connection request, but don't spam me after you send it.
Right.
So yeah.
Or say that you're spamming them.
Yeah, right. And don't also give me an email, a connection request that says, hey, I see that we're connected here on LinkedIn. We should connect. It's like, yeah, obviously I'm on LinkedIn. That's where you found me. So, all right, we're going sideways here. Setting goals and KPIs are very important, and you should be one of the very first steps you take.
Yes.
And yes, it says if you've not had goals and aren't sure what goals to set, ask yourself what it is that you want to achieve in your business. Wow, guys, look how simple the goals can be. Do you want more web traffic? Do you want more quality leads? Do you want to reach a financial goal? And I think you hit every one of those. But people don't know why they want web traffic, right? They just
Well,
think that they want traffic.
and it is probably one of the least goals that clients from me actually want. And you're right. But web traffic is branding and possibly getting in front of them and getting them to know who you are. So there's definitely value to it. But, can you always put a dollar to it as easily? With Google Analytics, in the dashboard, you definitely can do it easier than you could in the past. But yeah, if web traffic's not your jam, then we can hit other goals. And I just want to say, sometimes people aren't aggressive enough with their goals, which is ironic. You obviously don't want to have too big of a goal that you can't possibly reach. But saying that you want five people.
I have a vision board, and I'm trying to see which one that says set big goals. It basically says it takes just as much energy to set a little goal as it says that it takes to set a big goal. So
exactly.
And if it doesn't scare you, then it's not big enough.
Right. If we said we just want 5 people to visit the website, I mean,
I'll just go click it 5 times.
Right. Like that's not, and some marketers, are happy with that. Like, I know I'll shoot past that and it takes the stress off. But be bold, have a grand goal, and then just break it down like quarterly or whatever you'd like, and be realistic with it. So yeah, definitely goals.
Okay, let's see what's next. Analyze and listen to your audience.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier.
Okay.
I mean, that's really just analyzed. Google Analytics is, anything with your website. I love that data. You can get data from Facebook, from Instagram, MailChimp, Constant Contact. All of the email newsletter providers have great analytics. And you can learn a lot. Just it takes time to gather the information and kind of, as I say, what is the story here? What is this telling me? What should I understand about these people and what they're telling me? And that can take time. I'm not going to lie. Gathering that data and kind of really sitting with what is the mindset that's going on here. But it's so worth it. To your point earlier, if you're just throwing stuff up there and people aren't engaging and you don't enjoy it, then what's the point?
Right? You can You can make more sales calls. You can make more sales calls
somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. So,
okay, let's go on to how does content marketing help my organic SEO? SEO is just like this magic thing that people don't understand in general. I don't want to say anything bad.
Right. Well, again, SEO encompasses a lot, and if you ask 10 people what is SEO, you get 10 different answers. So and again, I could go on forever just about SEO, so I'll try to keep it brief. But essentially, organic SEO, so that's different from paid SEO, which would be like your Google ads, even Facebook ads, any kind of ads, anything you have to spend money on and it doesn't last. So a Google ad doesn't last you beyond that 24 hours, right?
Getting coffee.
So okay. You don't have your investment is just kind of like bleeding through. With organic SEO, it's a true investment because that content you create should stay there. It's going to be there, especially if you write what we can call evergreen or something that's always going to be relevant. And you can always take, like people that are writing about pandemics right now, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, you can update that information. So content doesn't have to be like one and done. You can always repurpose it.
No, you should always repurpose it.
I encourage that correctly, yes. But you also want to repurpose it correctly and make it work for you. So SEO, search engine optimization, this is where people search online. Google pretty much owns that. As I always say, it's a Google world and we just live in it. And so they kind of dictate, and their algorithm has been being perfected every single day since they started. Back in the 90s when it first started, if you remember, I know I do, when you could type in puppy and all you would get was porn like that. What a way have we come? Like, who just types in puppy anymore, right? You'd put in like red golden beagle 3 months old. Like, our search has changed as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result of that, the content has to reflect that so that people can find this content that you're creating and find you. That's kind of the ultimate point of this.
Can you define for me long tail keywords?
So that's just where I talked about puppy. Like, let's say that you're a breeder. You wouldn't necessarily just use puppy as a link, like a anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So long tail keywords are, like I said, nowadays, if you were looking for a puppy, you wouldn't just put in puppy. You would put in something much more specific. And so these are good things to do when you're writing content. You want to know what are your keywords you're ranking for or would like to rank for or be found under for search. Long tail keywords that add detail. So if you're local, you have a brick and mortar branch, or you service local area, you'd want to be sure that you included your city, your state, the area and territories that you service. That, the more detail you can put, the better. Because, if you look up flooring,
yeah,
any term you can think of, you wouldn't just look up flooring, although Google will be like, oh, where are you at? Will you allow me to know exactly where you're at? So I'll find the flooring specialist that's like next door to you. But which is helpful for, a lot of times when you get rid of the creep factor. But it's essentially, you would say, I'm looking for flooring, wood flooring, or whatever. It's very specific. And so it's just being able to get in the mind of someone that would search for you. So knowing your audience, your clients, or your customers is number one, but knowing how they search for you or would find you is almost just as important. And don't write to that. That's not how content marketing done well is. You don't just, because we've all seen it. Somebody had somebody else write it, and it was like, flooring in Arizona is great. Arizona flooring is awesome because of the heat. Be careful with flooring in Arizona. Like, you're just like, oh my gosh, It's kind of as bad as that commercial with State Farm or one of them where it's like 45% off, whatever. It's like a commercial where they say it 10 times obnoxiously.
Isn't that the Encino Man commercial? I don't remember.
I can't think of his name.
He's monotone. He's monotone on it, right?
Yeah, but it's like they say it 10 times, and I told my husband, I said, you know what that is? There was an executive that said to the marketing team, I want a commercial, and I saw a study that said if you say this action item 10 times in 30 seconds in a commercial, that it will increase our profits, so do it. And they did it, and it's all commercial.
And the marketing department was giggling.
Like, we'll show him.
So we have an audience member that says, is there any specific tool you recommend for SEO?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. There's quite a few for different reasons. So looking up keywords, there's several. I want to say, right on the spot.
So while you're thinking, I used to subscribe and use all the time as SpyFu.
I was just going to say SpyFu. Now, that one, is that because it's robust. It has a lot of opportunities for SEO, not just keywords.
Yes, it's really good as an agency as well. You can put your logo, you can brand it, you can produce reports and put them back out to your customers. I also have been a big follower of Neil Patel, and so he now has Uber Suggest. You can do some Uber Suggest. There's a lot of different tools out there. If anybody needs anything else, maybe we can do a tip sheet of all the different SEO tools or keyword search tools. There's also a Chrome extension, I think that's called Keyword Search Tools or something like that. I used to have that, and I just got annoyed with it. I used it for LinkedIn.
I was going to say, I don't use that anymore. And in fact, Moz.com has a lot of free tools as well as paid ones. And you're right. I can add those. I know you'll add that on your sheet, and then I've got on my website a page for this video, this interview that we did today, and I can include those there. So those were great suggestions. I would include SpyFu and Uber Suggest in that list. There's so many.
Yeah, to find and know the keyword search. And when I do LinkedIn profile optimization and I work with people on their branding and their personal branding, we go through keyword searches. So we understand what your target market might search for. We understand what your competitors are being searched and found for. So we do that analysis ahead of time so that we can write your profile for your target market to be able to find you. Because remember, on LinkedIn, people are looking for people. They're not so much looking for products and services. So
right.
I think we're just about at a wrap. Thank you so much for attending. So Tara has her email here, info@ademsedge.com. She has her phone number, just like me, a 480 phone number. And then that's where I found her, of course, on LinkedIn. And then she was so nice to make the link that I put in the setup for the show. You guys have a link where you can find the slide. You can find the resources that she's putting together. We'll have a replay of the show. And Tara, so if somebody is interested now, they re-listen to this, or they want to get on a phone call with you to find out a little bit more about how it would be like to create a content strategy with you, or maybe they have a budget set aside that they want to have you do some content, what the best way to get in touch with you is through these emails, or do you like to have them hit your website or register? Do you have a calendar? How would that happen?
I'll take you any way I can get you.
Okay.
So you can definitely email. You can call. You may have to leave a message. I will return your call. But I have a contact form on the website. It's ademsedge.com.
Okay.
And if you go to ademsedge.com/live, that's where everything in regards to this conversation. So reference links that I had in anticipation of this, and I'll definitely add some keyword tools that I use on there as well.
And I'm going to type it here while we're talking. So I'm putting Adems. I put it in the show notes, but let's put it here too.
Awesome.
ademsedge.com/live.
Live, yep.
Backslash or forward slash? You guys will get it. I'm going to put it there. You
forward slash, yeah, that looks right. That looks right.
Backslash. Do the Egyptian. I'm not sure. All right. So, Tara, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you so much for the patience of the technology. It was me, you guys. I was the problem. I took out my headphones and my system decided it was going to change how they were going to, if there's no headphones, the automation. So
we worked well together, and I appreciate you having me on here, and I appreciated your patience as we worked through it. So I appreciate that.
You just take a deep breath, and you know what? I'm the show host. Show doesn't go on until we're ready. So that's how it is. But okay, you guys. So thank you so much. As you know, the Art of Inspired Selling is all about bringing people on that can deliver value to you as a B2B entrepreneur or professional sales representative. We're here to support you. We're here to help you increase your revenue. We're here to provide information so you can do marketing and sales and any other thing. If there's a content, a topic that you want to hear more about, reach out to me. We're now going to start doing our emails out to everybody so that you know links to the back shows from the week before, you know who's going to be on the show for the week, and then we're going to give you a 3-week synopsis about what's going on so that you can plan or rewatch or do whatever you want. We're here to support you because we want to see you thrive in the now normal. So thanks so much, everybody. Tara, stay on the show. We will see you guys next week. Have a great